Call to order the October 7th, 2014 regular City Council meeting for the City of Joliet. Tonight's invocation will be given by Associate Pastor Brendan Westmore from the Crossroads Christian Church at 805 Bartholomew Avenue, after which time he'll lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. Please stand.
Let's pray. We thank you so much for this great city. We thank you for the leaders gathered here this evening. Just pray that you would give them wisdom as they handle matters dealing with our town. Just give them grace as they legislate. In your name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I should have said hello earlier.
Thank you.
Let's start with roll call. Mayor Girani.
Here.
Councilwoman Gavin. Here. Councilman Girl.
here.
Councilman Hug.
Here.
Councilman McFarland. Here. Councilman Morris.
Here.
Councilman Odekirk.
Here.
Councilwoman Coleman.
Here.
Councilman Turk.
Here.
First on the agenda is the approval of the agenda. It's recommended the agenda be approved as written with the following changes. Remove Council Memos 478-14, the resolution supporting the Joliet Park District referendum. Remove Council Memo 485-14, the request for authorization to award a contract for the demolition of 500 Shelby Street. And add a presentation regarding the Joliet Park District referenda following this motion.
Second.
Mr.
Motion seconded to approve. Councilwoman Gavin.
Aye.
Councilman Girl.
Aye.
Councilman Hug.
Aye.
Councilman McFarland.
Aye.
Councilman Morris.
Aye.
Councilman Odekirk.
Aye.
Councilwoman Coleman.
Aye.
Councilman Turk.
Aye.
Mayor Girani.
Aye.
Motion carried. This will be a presentation for the Joliet Park District referendum.
Mayor, members of the council, my name is J.D. Ross. I live at 119 Inwood Drive in Joliet, and tonight I'm here to represent a group called Growing Park Strong 2014. The mission of our group is to support the tax referendum, which the Park District has on the ballot for November 4th. You might ask why some of us have gotten involved with this effort, and for most of us it boils down to three things. One is it's a quality of life issue. People coming to a community want to have strong city services, good schools, and good parks and recreation. Secondly, I am a user of Park District facilities, as are most of the people on our committee, and so we believe in what this Park District in particular is doing. We believe in its leadership, its executive director, and the programs that it offers. And finally, the Park District is now 92 years old and has parks that have not received any serious attention for probably 30 years or so because of the limited ability of taxing bodies, as all of you know, to extend tax levies based on tax cap legislation. So our district has only been able to improve one or two parks a year with the resources that it has from its operating budget. So the Park District board took a strong look at what might be done to improve the parks, sent out 22,000 surveys to members of the Park District, voting members of the district, and received their feedback. Two important things that the board was advised. One is the public was not interested in a second sheet of ice, much to the chagrin of some of our members, including our chairperson, Terry Darcy. But nonetheless, they also told us that if we kept the referendum below $20 million, there would be some support for our effort. So where are we? We have a referendum on the ballot for November 4th asking for $19.5 million. What we would do with that, if we are successful, is to have significant safety and security improvements at 23 parks, and those are evenly, if you will, distributed across the park district, both east side and and west side. What we're looking for specifically would be to add gates or improve gates at some of our parks, add additional fencing, and add cameras and video recorder capability as a means of improving security. We would also look at replacing outdated park playground equipment. Some of you were at the groundbreaking, or not groundbreaking, but the celebration today, the ribbon cutting dedication of the park at Taylor and Wilcox. That kind of equipment that you see there, and also at Mary Crest School, is what we would be looking to do at a large number of our parks, based on, of course, the size of the park. There also is an issue with emerald ash borer in this city. As you know, the Park District has lost over 100 trees, 67 of those alone at Inwood Park. We would be looking to replace those at a cost of about $500,000. Resurfacing roads and trails at Pilcher Park. I think most of us recognize Pilcher Park as the crown jewel of the park system, so to speak, but the roads are in horrible condition if any of you have driven through that park recently. And also there are some serious erosion problems in certain parts of the park as well. They all need attention. And then finally, the district would be looking at adding some new indoor facilities, one at Knoll Park and also one at Inwood, which would attach to the current multi-purpose center. What does it cost? That's what taxpayers always want to know. For a home of about $100,000, we're looking at a tax increase of $20.16. For a $150,000 home, it's about $30 that we're looking for. These are, of course, monthly numbers. What we, the public, get for support of the referendum, well, I believe that we will get improved parks that are safe and secure for our residents, especially youth and the seniors who tend to be the users of those services. We hope to increase property values, of course, particularly those adjacent to the parks, attract younger families to our community, along with, as we said, better city services and improve school districts. And most of all, we want to improve the general quality of life. If this tax referendum is approved, our rate would still be 34% below what it was 20 years ago, prior to the district retiring some of its bonds. And I should add, the effort that we're looking for would be 20-year financing, $19.5 million. And of course, as all of you know, there's probably not a better time right now in terms of interest rates and even construction costs. And I suspect with the economy improving that neither one of those notions are going to remain in place very long. I think sooner or later we're going to see interest rates go up, and obviously construction costs are likely to go up as well. So we wanted to just educate you a little bit on what our effort is. As I said, we do have a committee. Terry Darcy and Warren Doris are both here. They're among our leaders on the committee. We also have the president of the park board here, Glenn Markham, and of course our CEO, Dominic Agizio. So I'd like to pause at this point, and we'll be happy to take any questions, and my colleagues will feel free to join me if you ask questions that I cannot answer.
Just a comment, having been on the park board when this tax cap was voted in Springfield, and it was kind of a last-minute deal, I know firsthand how it tied our hands, the board members' hands. We weren't happy with it. They kind of snuck it in on us, but so I know firsthand what they're going through, and I really hope that this passes.
Well, what I've said at some other meetings, is the tax caps are certainly taxpayer protection, and you can't argue with that. But on the other hand, if there's a cause out there that people support, then they have to get out and support it, because as taxpayers, we can't hide behind elected bodies now and expect them to do that work for us, because they can only extend the levy by a certain amount. So for those taxpayers that believe in a cause, they've got to step up to the plate and be supportive.
I think
and this is an opportunity.
Yeah, I think the board felt that they were tying our hands, and if the taxpayers felt that we were spending too much money, then they could vote us out of office. But to do that to a park district, we weren't too happy.
Well, and as you know, taxpayers in the 6 collar counties are all dealing with those issues.
Right, so.
Your Honor.
Yes.
If I may. Thank you so much for the presentation, and I'd like to thank the Park District for coming together and designing this. Also, the committee of interested citizens that pay this. But I have a couple of questions that I wanted to ask. Should the resolution be approved, could you, or do you know, how long the residents can anticipate the completion of such a project? I know you don't have anything, you may not have any strategic plan in place right now, but usually these fundings may come with a mandate or something like that. Would you have?
I'm going to ask Dominic to respond to that.
Thank you.
That's what I call a technical question.
Absolutely.
I don't know if you're aware of it, but I can't actually work on I can only give informational answers because of state law.
Understood.
But we have 5 years, which we can issue the bonds over. I would anticipate most of the work being completed within 2 to 3 years, but there's a lot of work that would take place, and the size of our staff, it would take 2 to 3 years. Our first priority would be to get the roads in Pilcher Park fixed. That would be something we'd get going on right away, as well as some playgrounds, and then, design work and requests for proposals for architects and all that would have to take place.
Great. And you kind of sort of touched on my second question as well as how are these projects going to be prioritized? And if, like you said, the roads in Pilcher Park, and you're absolutely correct. I live in that area, so I know exactly what the conditions are. But these projects, how will we prioritize, and will at any time the residents or some of the community leaders would have an opportunity to engage in that?
Well, the roads, like I said, would be our number one priority. I don't know how much resident involvement we would need. I mean, it's road work.
The road.
Parks, typically we do try to present different designs to playgrounds, to neighborhoods before they go up. We bring maybe 2 or 3 possible looks to the playgrounds, and then let those neighborhood communities take a look at them. I think for our field house that we're talking about, and we've talked about it at Knoll Park, our idea would be to select an architect and come up with 3 possible solutions and bring them to the neighborhoods and see what people think. That's kind of what our plan is right now. If this is approved in November, realistically, we're probably at least 8 months to a year away from getting to that point by the time you select an architect and go through the RFP procedures and all that stuff. So within a year, I would think we would be pretty close to being in final design on something like that.
Great.
But it's probably, like I said, 2 or 3 years away from opening something.
Okay. All right. And of course,
And
security.
parks will be ongoing through the whole process. Our hope is with this many parks, there'll be some economies of scale. We'll bid these things out, and hopefully the numbers will come in really good where maybe we can tackle some more parks. But based on what our costs are, 1 or 2 parks a year, we know what that is. That's how the budget's figured out. But buying a large volume of playgrounds, we think we hopefully can save some serious dollars and add to that list of parks.
Wow, amazing. I thank you. I looked at the list, and I am so delighted that about 16 of those parks are over here on the east side in the 4th and 5th district, and we are excited to see some.
It's spread pretty good throughout the city. We think we touch pretty much everybody's neighborhood will be touched some way with how they're laid out. And quite honestly, it's just those are the parks that need to be replaced right away. It's just kind of by luck how it happened, but it does touch every area of the city.
Community, and that's what we're looking for. Great. Good luck on the referendum. Thank you.
John,
Yeah, great
go
presentation.
down the line.
Sure. Great presentation, Dr. Ross. Obviously, you've always do a nice job. The committee's lucky to have, and you certainly have a Class A marquee as far as personnel on your committee, and you guys have done a great job, as far as reaching out to the Joliet residents, getting their input. I know you added a few things. You took some things away, one being the ice rink, and you listened to your constituents, and that's certainly a positive. I too wish you good luck I, for one, am going to vote for it. I think it's a great idea. One thing, and I know you're going to have a lot of input going forward as far as what, you got $19.5 million, and I know, Dominic, you mentioned about, I don't know if it's going to be a rec center or a field house or what it's going to look like, but we had a great presentation yesterday here at pre-council from Camaris, and they're actually doing our city center planning. And one thing they had stressed was and what they're trying to attract are young people to our downtown area. Basically with the universities, University of St. Francis, Joliet Junior College. So we're really trying to, to market that to young people, and hopefully we'll get some residential down there and make it a very viable place, not only for people to come and work with the government services, but also to live. An entertainment venue, restaurants, that sort of thing. One thing, if you might consider, is locating your rec center, and I know the rec center, you want it to serve the near west side and the east side. I think if you put something like that somewhere in downtown Joliet, I think you might meet with some success, because it would serve the east side residents, but it would also serve our downtown business district, especially if we start seeing an influx of young people from the universities. And I know that our staff would be happy to work with you on that. But again, I know there's that's probably like number 90 on the to-do list, and you're on number 2. But if you would consider that, we think there might be a great fit there because of the changing dynamics that we see going on in downtown Joliet. So.
I think we're open to all ideas. That's what makes this community great. And you know what? Before I go on, before we leave, I want to recognize the committee, so maybe we can have them stand up. But the Joliet Park District has a great relationship with the University of St. Francis. We're home to most of their sporting events. Their students use our athletic club as part of their student life package that they get at the university. Dr. Johnson is on our committee helping us out, so we work really closely with them. And as you mentioned, we explore all ideas until something doesn't work. So we'll definitely take that under advisement.
Great. Thank you. And again, thanks to you and your board. I think you did a great job, reaching out to the, to your constituents and the residents of Joliet. And again, good luck to you on November 4th. So.
Anybody else?
Well, I'll say off the top, I'm kind of an outsider looking in on this issue. My section of town where I live, my constituents in District 1 are all Plainfield Park District. When I saw it on the agenda, though, I decided to educate myself. And I've never been known to be short of any opinion. I'm impressed with the security portion. I think you're doing great for the citizens. Certainly impressed with the stress you're putting on Pilcher Park, because that is a pearl for the entire city. And I'm impressed with the transparency you brought to this process and the effort you put in to reach out to the constituents in the Joliet Park District. That's no more, you can't be more democratic than that. I mean, you looked for ideas and you looked for input and approval. And I'm finally I'm impressed with the passion and commitment of those that have stepped forward to support this, the committee, and even those not on the committee that are assisting the committee from the public. I think the plan looks great,
Well, I got great news for you, because as the city continues to move out west, the Park District recently had the foresight to purchase a parcel on Grove Road, and I believe as the city moves that way, eventually that will be in your district, so you'll have a piece of the Joliet Park District in your district.
That is way west.
But eventually it will be in the city and in your district. So.
Well, Dominic, actually, my knowledgeable colleague here has got me all blocked going any further west right now. So we'll have to talk about that. But again, congratulations to everybody who's bringing this forward to the people. It looks great. The security is exciting.
Dominic or JD, of the viewers that are watching the council meeting, where would they go to get more information? Is there a website or a phone number for details?
Yeah, we have a Facebook page and a website. The Facebook page is Growing Park Strong 2014, which will be the name of, help me out here, the name of the website as well. The same thing. .com or .org? .com. GrowingParkStrong2014.com. So the Facebook page is up now, and the website, I think, will be up probably the end of tomorrow.
Anybody down here?
It's up now. It's live now.
Barry?
We are reaching out to community groups, so if there are others that we haven't already contacted and would like to have us come and speak, we're certainly available to do that.
They can reach you through Facebook?
Yes.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. Yeah, JD, and, everyone from the Park District and the committee, thanks for coming out, sharing this with us as well as our viewers. I don't want to sound redundant, but as Councilwoman Gavin said, the parks, you look like you did concentrate a lot on some of the older parks on the east side, in District 4 and District 5, so I'd like to thank you all for that. Because they have been, underserved for years now. But to focus on that is great. I was here. I believe it was. Do you all call it a public hearing that you all had here in the chamber some time ago? I was able to attend that, and I guess you all pointed out, and I just wanted to be clear about what did you all do before coming to the referendum in terms of trimming the fat? Wasn't that something said at the hearing where you're not just asking for this money without seeing first where you all could cut and trim some of the if it was fat, if you want to call it that, in your budget that you already had, where we're not just asking for more money prior to seeing what you could have trimmed back? Is that kind of correctly what what I heard from that meeting that you all had here in the...
That's correct. I mean, the park board does a great time, scrutinizing our budget. But what's important to remember too is we're funded two separate ways. One is capital improvement money and one is our operating budget. So these type of projects are all capital improvement. They're totally separate dollars from our operating budget. So what you see goes all into those projects. There's no money for labor. There's no money for pensions or any operating dollars. So with the tax cap legislation, as far back when Mayor Drani was on the park board, our budgets have been cut back pretty far since then. We just recently did our early retirement incentive. 16 people took advantage of that, and we're down about 11 positions after that. So, our budget's been, if there is any fat, I don't know where it's at. It's maybe on my waistline right now.
Yeah. And my last question, I guess, or point. Now, the amount of money that is going to be tacked on to a person's tax bill, is that solid number, or that could change, or is that pretty close to?
It's pretty close to it. The bonds would be bid out. As JD had mentioned, the rates are pretty low right now, so it could go down a little bit, but it's pretty close just based on what we know the rates are today.
Okay. Thank you. Thanks, man.
Sure. Bob?
Thank you. Yeah, 2 points. The first, I had an email from a constituent today who was asking what specific 20 parks you were going to improve. I think Councilman McFarland touched on that. They could find the information at the website, and it's in the pamphlet that you gave us tonight. Second, I was at the ribbon cutting at Preservation Park today, and it is a beautiful facility. Is it safe to say that that's what our residents should expect at these other parks going around the city?
That's the plan. We feel that everybody deserves a nice park. I think there's a few people in the room, Councilman Gavin could speak, that a quality park changes a neighborhood and changes the lives of people there. We can look at what happened at Forest Park. Anybody that knows what that park was 2 years ago and what it is today is a remarkable transformation, and we feel that every part of the city should have that opportunity. We can beat that dead horse on what the tax cap did to the park district, but today the park board had the foresight to move forward and try to do this referendum to get past that, and we really believe that every neighborhood should have a quality park like that.
Thank you.
Jim?
Just a comment. This brochure is fabulous, but and I'm not being critical. These are comments that I'm getting, and I don't know how to answer them. Folks that are seeing your signs say critical, safety, and security. On your pamphlet, it doesn't say that. So I'm being asked the question, well, what's so critical? Are our parks not safe? What kind of crime's been there? Has there already been any stabbing, shootings? I said, well, you know what? Tonight we're having a council meeting. I will present your comments and questions to the park board to address.
There's multiple answers to that question. First of all, safe parks mean a lot of things. Number one, that the playground equipment, the surfaces underneath the parks, are underneath the playground equipment, are up to today's standards. They meet the ADA requirements, so a child that's playing in those playgrounds aren't going to get hurt. There's security issues that need to take place in a lot of our buildings where we have kids. In our multipurpose center, it's basically an early childhood center, and we all know the bad things that happen at schools, and we need to provide security there. Most of our parking lots none of our parking lots have any cameras, so those are things that are being looked at. And Pilcher Park specifically, we need to gate that at night so we can close it down. Our crews clean that park on a daily basis, and we come back the next day and it's full of trash, vandalism. We're talking to the point where maybe we put license plate readers into the park so we know who's coming in and out of Pilcher Park, automatic gates. As JD had mentioned, a lot of our parks we can't lock down at night, and we need to be able to do that. So those are the security things that we're looking at. We work really closely with the Joliet Police Department to provide security, and they do a great job. They enforce all of our ordinances. So when we talk about security, those are some of the issues that we mean.
Okay. And also, I heard you give a talk last week about a 20-year plan after 20 years, or 15 years, was it?
Well, the bonds are they're 15. They're going to be 15 or 20-year bonds. We'll bid them out. However, the rates come in the best. That's how they'll be issued. Everything's figured out at a 20-year
Amortization.
amortization. Yeah, thank you.
So this tax would be just after 20 years,
Goes
it
away.
goes away
Yep,
for the homeowners.
correct.
And then also, it's going to bring a lot of union jobs, I hear.
We can maybe put in one park a year with our staff. So yeah, all that work would be bid out. All the building work, of course, would be bid out. So, I would venture to say it'll all be union work.
Okay. So anyway, great job. Thank you so much. Appreciate all your hard work.
Your Honor, first of all, I'd like to thank the committee. I know they've worked hard on this and started many months ago, and the staff. They did it right, as everybody else had said. They took it out in the community and decided, what the community could afford and what they wanted to see, and molded their referendum around that. Great leadership on the committee with Mr. Darcy and Reverend Doris. Going back to what JD said when he first started, when people locate their business here or industry or just want to move here, they look at the city to see what kind of services they have. They look at the schools, and they also look at what kind of recreational facilities, and not only the parks, but they look at other things like the fitness centers and the ice rinks and things like that. So I think it's very important that we support this. I support this referendum and urge people to vote for this referendum. We're talking on a $150,000 home, $30 a year. If your home's worth a little bit less, it's going to be less. A little bit more, it's going to be more. But you're talking about $2.50 a month. And I think for that investment, it's going to increase your property values, at least that. I can remember many, many, many years ago, in 1981, I was elected to the Joliet Park Board. And we had our first meeting. The first meeting I attended was upstairs in the old hangar at the airport. And, excuse me. And shortly thereafterwards, we rented out the Rayner Park School, which is now residential homes over on Hosmer Street. And we stayed there for till 1987. But about in 1985, I think it was, we decided the Park District didn't have a permanent home. And we just rented facilities, and we rented, it was the old Steinberg's building on Reed Street, which is now, is it Willie World or the motorcycle shop on Reed Street? And the roof was leaking and everything, so we decided to build a facility in what is now known as the multi-purpose center. And so it was ironic that when I left the board in '87, my last board meeting was the first board meeting in that building. And then, Dominic, what year did the tax cap come into effect?
I believe 92, 93, right around there.
Okay. Well, it's amazing what the Park District staff and board has done with the quality of buildings and parks and services you have with working within that tax cap, and I commend you for that. And I support this referendum and encourage people to get out and vote for it.
I think it's important to note that only 33% of our revenues come from tax dollars. The rest we all generate on fees and charges. So the users who use our facilities truly support those facilities.
Good luck.
I'd like to recognize we have a couple people here. Warren Doris is on our committee, as well as Caesar, and Jeff Thompson are some of our co-chairs. I don't think Jeff is here, but there are people from the chamber that are here. So if everybody can stand up, Terry Darcy, if everybody could stand up.
I just want to commend the great group you put together, and I'm going out on a limb here, Warren. Have you ever lost a referendum? I know you've been involved in quite a few of them.
I chaired 3 referendums for the high school and the grade school, and we won them all. I've only lost one election, that was to you, sir.
But good luck, and if there's no objection, we'll put this on the agenda for the next meeting. No objection?
But
We can't vote on it tonight, it's not on the agenda.
We have-
Wasn't put on the agenda. I don't think we can vote on it tonight. Can we, Jeff?
The proclamation?
Yeah.
Sure you can.
You can?
Sure.
Resolution?
Okay.
All right. Your motion?
Move to approve.
Second.
Okay.
Krista?
You know, real quick, I believe Mr. Hernandez would like to speak.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Good afternoon, members of the City Council. I, too, belong to the Park District. I work out there on a regular basis. I've been a member for the last several years. Back in the 90s, the Hartman Center was built, and it was built with hundreds of thousands of dollars of city money. Councilman Manny Palacios at that time allocated hundreds of thousands of dollars of city money to buy up the homes and everything around the Hartman Center to make that possible. So the Park District had a lot of assistance. Even in the early 2000s, when the Hispanic Baseball Association had a league there, we had to come to Councilman Warren Doris to make improvements. So the city's made a tremendous contribution to help the Park District with the east side parks. But I've been traveling across the city on behalf of different candidates and talking to residents. And so this past 10 days, I've made it going around talking to residents about the issue concerning this referendum. And I can tell you, out of 40 residents, only 2 are supporting the referendum right now. There are many struggling families out there that are struggling to make ends meet. And I think it could be your first defeat, Warren, on a referendum. I'm not supporting the referendum because I'm supporting the people that are having a hardship in this city and that are struggling with their families. I also am upset with the Park District because I think that over the years they could have made many improvements to East Side parks. The investment they made in the water park, which was a fiasco, millions of dollars that could have been spent on Knoll Park and that could have been spent on Pilcher Park, but they had been neglected for years because the Park District said, well, it's at large council, it's a large race that we're elected to, and we don't have to worry about the people that live on the East Side as long as we keep and continue to get elected and reelected. The residents that I spoke to are from east, west, north, and south, senior citizens as well as young people. And on their behalf, I encourage the rest of the citizens not to support this referendum to increase your taxes. Thank you.
Jeff, can I get some clarification? Because we voted to remove the item from the agenda, so do they need another vote to place it back on the agenda?
Well, actually, I believe what's on the floor is the mayor's proclamation.
Or is-
Isn't that correct?
what proclamation is that?
It was
There's
pulled to
no-
endorse. That's why
There was,
Just wait.
Well, if there is no proclamation, I thought I heard that there was.
there was, but it was pulled yesterday.
It was a
there was a
resolution.
resolution.
It's a resolution of support.
Why don't we have a combined motion to reinstate and then a motion on the resolution at the same time? Just a
Motion
single
to-
vote.
To reinstate.
Reinstate and to approve the resolution. Unless there's an objection to the combined vote.
So moved.
Your second?
Just for clarification, shouldn't we just wait till next week I'm not clear here.
Yeah, and I apologize if I contributed to that. I thought I heard that there was a mayoral proclamation that was being presented in lieu of the resolution. If that's not the case, we did have a resolution that was on the agenda tonight, and then we voted tonight to not take action on that, but the council is in session. It certainly has the authority to reverse itself if that's what the majority of the council would like to do, and then take action on the resolution. So what I was suggesting, based on the comments that I heard tonight, that a motion might be in order to, a combined motion, to reinstate the resolution and vote for its approval. as a single matter.
That's the motion.
Mayor?
Terry?
Good evening. We really came here tonight because I came down to City Hall the other day and I realized we hadn't even brought this to your attention. And it was my fault. And I thought, well, we really need to bring this to your attention. And I really didn't mean it to be an action item. I meant it to be your partners with the Park District and everybody else in the city. And I thought it would really be prudent to bring it down to you. We probably should have brought it down to you before we put signs in yards. And I apologize for that. But we really brought it down as an infomercial, to bring it to your attention, to have you understand what the Park District, your partner in the community, is doing. And I don't know that we weren't looking for an action item. We heard a lot of great comments tonight. We wanted feedback. We wanted Mr. Hernandez's feedback, even though I'm betting on Warren. We want to make sure that we're doing the right thing here. We want to hear the residents, and you represent the residents. So we just want to make sure that we vetted this well again to make sure that we're really just sifting this thing through and making sure if there's anything else that we missed, we want to hear it from you all because you represent this great city. So I'm just saying, I don't know that we need a proclamation, just my own opinion. I think this was really just to come down, bring it to your attention, as we should have done maybe a few weeks ago, so that if people have questions and you have an answer now, and they know where to go to find the answer, I think that's really what we came to do tonight. And I don't mean to turn this into a proclamation or a reclamation, or just wanted your support and let you know what we're doing, but don't really need to make it a formal action.
The talks that I had with you, I think we agreed that we weren't going to vote on it tonight because it's not on the agenda, and if somebody would make a motion to do it in 2 weeks, so be it.
But we just really wanted you all to know what we're doing. It's kind of one of those things where we don't want you getting peppered with questions and not have an idea what the heck these guys out here putting signs in, like drafting these guys. They're running around the city, you know. They got to let you know what's happening. But thanks for your time tonight, and that's just kind of where this all was prompted from, was me and our lack of bringing it to you before we started going out in the community with it. So thank you.
Mayor.
Thank you, Terry.
Terry, I think in the end, getting the information out there to the people is the most important thing. I mean, this is a long time coming as far as improving the parks on the east side. But in the end, it's really up to the people to decide. And in the end, so they really need to get the information. Like, I didn't have information to give people that called me about the signs. But as long as you're out there getting the information, then go on your Facebook page. Is there a phone number they can call as well if they have other questions?
I don't know if we have a phone number, but I'm certain we could put one on the Facebook page or on the website to make sure there's somebody that can answer some specific questions.
So, basically, time will tell, and on November 4th, it will go to the citizens, and they can make their own choice.
Right.
Okay.
And, before we did all this, I forgot to do the math on what it would cost me for all the real estate I have in Joliet. I'm starting to wonder myself. No, I'm just kidding.
Thank you.
It's a great endeavor, and it's a great city, and we just want to make it better and better.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Just comment on Mr. Hernandez. Back when Andy Hinch was on the council, and I don't remember if the Park District spent the $1 million or if the $1 million come from the city, but I believe they invested $1 million in Knoll Park, the pool, and put some slides in there and so forth. So the Park District did invest in Knoll Park. So, yes. 40 years ago? Well, no, it ain't 40 years ago.
Your Honor, also just another comment was, when I was elected in '81, Knoll Park pool was closed. It was full of boulders and everything else. And shortly after the election, there was a 3-2 vote of the park board. Myself and 2 other commissioners voted to reopen and have to put a whole new pool in at Knoll Park and bathhouse, and redo the bathhouse. And that was like in '82 to '83 that was redone. And I think several years later, then the 89. Exactly. Right. So 89. So.
Okay. All right.
There's a chance.
Just one more thing on Knoll Park too. Just within the last 5 years, we put the walking trail in there. We've added a gazebo. There's a second playground. The basketball courts have all been put in. So within the last 5 years, a couple $100,000 have been spent at Knoll Park. And anybody that goes by there on a Sunday, it's packed with people. So it's huge.
Yes, it is.
Okay. I would just give the final comment. I think, we'll end on a high note, too. I think what was accomplished here tonight is those dedicated to moving this forward, and even those that may be against it. We had an open, transparent discussion. You stepped up, you brought it, and you continued a partnership that the city has enjoyed with you. And you actually brought it before a council that has long, over 3 years, gained a reputation of not being afraid to grill people and ask them tough questions. So I think if anybody up here found a flaw in the plan, we would have grilled you. So I think that in and of itself, the positive comments you received from everybody, from the mayor on down to his right and left, I think that's a good thing. And I think it's a good thing you brought it, put it on television. People can now watch it again and again and again on Channel 6. Our ratings are through the ceiling, I think. But I think what you've done is great. I think what you've done is great to bring it here. And I think that's what we accomplished tonight. You brought it to the people. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for that.
Okay.
We'll move on to council committee reports, public safety committee
And
reports.
you don't have to stay.
Except for you, Warren. Sit back down.
No.
I knew let's get the meeting going.
Public safety.
That's it?
Public safety committee.
Are they going around?
Are we ready to go? Oh, I'm sorry. I thought we were still clearing the room. All right. Your Honor, the
All
public...
clear.
All clear, all right.
Resolution again.
Yes. Your Honor, the Public Safety Committee met this evening. The Public Safety Committee consists of myself, Councilman Terry Morris, and Councilman Robert Odekirk. We had 2 items of business on the agenda. Those 2 items were the purchase of 20 rifles for our patrol officers, 2 Bushmaster rifles for our patrol officers to carry. This amount is being funded through our asset forfeiture fund, so it will not have any impact to the corporate fund. Chief Benton gave a very nice presentation how he's trying to get all of his officers to basically have the Bushmaster rifles, and we are going to be using the state bid price, so we know we got the best price available. The second item was the purchase of a K9. That also will be purchased out of the asset forfeiture fund, which will not cost the general fund any dollars at all. And the K9 is going to be at a cost of about $7,000. We do, I believe, Chief, we have a trainer, someone who's trained in handling K9s on our staff. I don't know if you want to comment on that a little bit.
Yes, Councilman, we have a certified Napwata trainer, Officer Battersher, who, because he's as experienced as he is and has this certification, he's one of only a handful in the 5-state region here. He's going to provide the training for us on site. Most agencies would have to pay for that. So what we're asking for is the cost for the purchase of the dog and the week stay out there in Pennsylvania when they pick it up, and then they'll bring it back here, and Officer Battershaw will work with the handler and provide training for the next 8 weeks to get the dog up to speed where we need it. So we'll save that cost from having his skill and knowledge.
Great. Thanks, Chief.
Thank you.
Your Honor, that concludes my report.
Public service committee report.
Public service? Your Honor, the Public Service Committee, comprised of Councilwoman Gavin, Councilman McFarland, and myself, met at 4:45 yesterday afternoon to review the contracts, change orders, pay estimates, found them to be in order, recommend their approval. We also had, well, two of the contracts were for the Scott and Ottawa Street decks for new lighting. The grants will pay for about 65% of the project. Our share is expected to be recovered within 3 years because of the energy-efficient lighting going in there, and the contract calls for December 15th completion date. Also, Black Road between, I think it's Ann Street and west to right by Carlson Funeral Home where the tracks used to be, where the trail is now. They're still on schedule to grind it down and blacktop that area before the end of fall. And McDonough Street, they are still anticipating McDonough Street between Infantry and Hobo to be opening this fall.
I show no other reports.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes.
Yesterday, you had asked the question about item 486, which was the roof replacement at Union Station, and you had asked if this was a union roofer, and we did confirm that they are.
Thank you. Thank you.
Next is consent agenda, approval of the minutes. It's recommended the minutes of the pre-council meeting held on September 15th, 2014, and the regular meeting held on September 16th, 2014, be received and placed on file. Council Memo 464-14, regular payroll for August 22nd through September 4th, 2014, $3,203,870.97. Council Memo 465-14, regular payroll for September 5th through September 18th, 2014, $3,469,233.29. It's recommended these be approved. And Council Memo 466-14, position vacancies. It's recommended the city manager be authorized to approve one part-time custodian and subsequent vacancies, one equipment operator 2 in roadways division and subsequent vacancies, and one utility billing and collection manager and subsequent vacancies. It's recommended said consent agenda items be approved.
Move to approve.
Second.
Any questions?
It's been motioned and seconded to approve. Councilman Girl.
Aye.
Councilman Hugg.
Aye.
Councilman McFarland.
Aye.
Councilman Morris.
Aye.
Councilman Odekirk.
Aye.
Councilwoman Quillman.
Aye.
Councilman Turk.
Aye.
Councilwoman Gavin.
Aye.
Mayor Gerani.
Aye.
Motion carried. Ordinances and resolutions. Under ordinances, an ordinance approving a special use permit to allow a temporary staffing agency located at 3133 West Jefferson Street. It's recommended said ordinance be adopted.
So moved.
Second.
Questions? Krista?
It's been motion and seconded to approve. Councilman Hugg.
Aye.
Councilman McFarland.
Aye.
Councilman Morris.
Aye.
Councilman Odekirk.
Aye.
Councilwoman Quillman.
Aye.
Councilman Turk.
Aye.
Councilwoman Gavin.
Aye.
Councilman Girl.
Aye.
Mayor Gerani.
Aye.
Motion carried. Council Memo 469-14, an ordinance approving a variation of use to allow continuation of a 2-unit residence in R3 use located in an R2 district at 925 North Broadway Street. It is recommended said ordinance be adopted. An addendum to this council memo was placed on the dais prior to the meeting.
Your Honor,
Excuse me, Jim, you want to address the addendum, please?
I think Councilwoman Quillman had asked a question last night regarding the status of the property regarding R3 use in an R2 zone district. And we did find when the property was originally listed by the real estate agent that they did call it a related living property, meaning that the owner was occupying it and a relative was living in there. When you look at the floor plan, it's basically a duplicate on the first floor and the second floor, so they're totally independent living spaces. And we did also find that we were charging a higher rate for the water and sewer fees for an owner-occupied 2-unit property.
Thank you. Councilwoman, yes.
Yes, I'd like to, I move to table this until some further investigations. I know that there were several questions that came up, and I certainly respect the residents in the Cunningham Neighborhood Council there for their concerns, and we have many with the absentee landlords. And so I would like to have this motion to table.
I would, in respect for my colleague, the councilwoman, who knows her district well, I would make a second on that.
Krista?
Would the 21st be enough time, or?
Yes, yes, the 21st would be enough
The
time.
motion and second to table Council Memo 469-14 to the October 21st council meeting. Councilman McFarland?
Aye.
Councilman Morris?
Aye.
Councilman Otterkirk?
Aye.
Councilwoman Coleman?
Aye.
Councilman Turk?
Aye.
Councilwoman Gavin?
Aye.
Councilman Girl?
Aye.
Councilman Hug?
Aye.
Mayor Girani.
I vote aye, but I have one question for Jeff.
Yes, sir.
And on the 21st, should this fail, would the owner be allowed to move in and have a relative living upstairs?
Well, the property, no is a quick answer.
Okay,
Maybe I'll just leave it there.
okay, that's fine. That's good
Yay.
enough for me.
I'm running out of words.
Council Memo 470-14, an ordinance approving a special use permit to allow a community wellness center that conducts massage therapy service and training located at 10 Fairlane Drive. It is recommended said ordinance be adopted.
So moved.
Second?
Questions?
Motion and seconded to approve. Councilman Morris?
Aye.
Councilman Otterkirk?
Aye.
Councilwoman Coleman?
Aye.
Councilman Turk?
Aye.
Councilwoman Gavin?
Aye.
Councilman Girl?
Aye.
Councilman Hug?
Aye.
Councilman McFarland?
Aye, and congratulations on your new space.
Mayor Girani.
Aye.
Motion carried. Council Memo 471-14, or an ordinance declaring certain properties as public nuisances. It is recommended said ordinance be adopted.
So moved.
Second.
Questions?
I have one.
Sure.
Mr. Hack, last evening we discussed these were just basically a threat to the owners. And I know I read an article that the city received some CDBG monies. And I believe we received a grant this year for $75,000, and we used that to demolish some buildings. I know myself and a couple other council members that have these homes in their districts want them gone, if not repaired. Is there some type of time frame or dollars to proceed with condemnation and demolition?
Well,
If need be.
sometimes those things happen on their own, because the ones that you think are so dilapidated and need to be torn down typically take so much money to fix them up and bring them up to the code that we're requiring, they choose demolition rather than fixing them up. The CDBG monies that we use are allocated to certain statistical districts that qualify for using our funds in those areas, so they can't be used throughout the city. But that is certainly something, our goal is to have good properties for residents and potential residents. And again, we do this as a first step towards condemnation. Most don't reach demolition.
Thank you. So is there a time frame that we're going to give these owners or the court?
Court.
Yeah, there is a time frame. The next step after the council approves this ordinance declaring these properties a public nuisance is for the Division of Neighborhood Services, who already has a file open, who has already made contact with the owners. The next step is to procure title commitment to get complete ownership information. We then send a statutory 15-day notice along with the list of code violations and recommendations for repair. And after that 15-day period has run, if the owner has not made contact and demonstrated good faith in reaching a resolution, the case is then transferred to the legal department. We will then file suit, and the court process takes it from there.
Thank you.
Question? Sure. Well, based on Councilman McFarland's question now, as well as the explanation last night, in rare instances when they refuse to respond, and do we take ownership and demolish?
In my experience, with demolitions, very rarely do we take ownership. We have that opportunity if there is a demolition in which the city paid for the demolition, we can foreclose our demolition lien and acquire title. We also have the ability to negotiate with the owner for an exchange of title for our taking over the responsibility to demolish the property. Sometimes the properties themselves are worth pursuing. Most of the time, they really aren't. You want to keep them in the private sector if you can, or in the hands of an adjacent property owner. But occasionally you do find the property where it fits into our homestead program just exactly right, and we do pursue ownership.
Well, the reason I ask is, and like it was explained yesterday, I think, Jeff, you may have mentioned it as well as Jim Haller, that when it does get to that in the rare instances final stage, most of the time it's well beyond rehabbing and selling without taking a great loss. However, could neighborhood services talk to, now I just lost it. Habitat for Humanity about the possibility that while it may be expensive to rehab, they're not looking for a profit. And if it's not more expensive than rebuilding, it may be something that they might consider taking over in those rare instances. Could we at least look into that as a final option?
Yeah, I believe there is an open dialogue between the Director of Neighborhood Services and Habitat. We've used CDBG in the past to fund Habitat projects where we acquire post-demolition vacant lots and put them in the hands of Habitat, and they create a new home.
Okay.
So we've done that in the past, and I know Alfredo is always out looking out for opportunities like that.
Well, I know Alfredo does a good job. He's always, all right, so thank you for the clarification. Thank you, ma'am.
It was motion and seconded to,
I'm sorry.
I was reading over that memo, and I was thinking that, operating engineers are right down the street. Did we ever think about going in partnership and give these type of homes where you're going to demolish them a training site for them and get it done for nothing? They train their members on demolition of a building or whatever, and work out a little bit of a partnership and get it done for free. Did anybody ever approach that? I mean, everybody knows union leaders in town, but it's just a passing thought.
It's a good thought, Mr.
Actual
Chairman.
training site. Save some bucks, and it's what more fun than demolishing a home for free? Earning your D10 right through the building, So think about it. It's a possibility to save the city some money.
That's a good idea.
Thank you.
Great idea.
been motion and seconded to approve Council Memo 471-14. Councilman Otterkirk.
Aye.
Councilwoman Coleman.
Aye.
Councilman Turk.
Aye.
Councilwoman Gavin.
Aye.
Councilman Girl.
Aye.
Councilman Hug.
Aye.
Councilman McFarland.
Aye.
Councilman Morris. Mayor Durrani.
Aye.
Motion carried. Council Memo 472-14, an ordinance approving a local agency agreement for a jurisdictional transfer of Caton Farm Road. It is recommended said ordinance be adopted.
So moved.
Second.
Questions? Krista?
Been motion and seconded to approve. Councilwoman Coleman.
Aye.
Councilman Turk.
Aye.
Councilwoman Gavin.
Aye.
Councilman Girl.
Aye.
Councilman Hug.
At the risk of being redundant, with the commitment to work as hard as we can on budget to bring new equipment and new bodies to the Public Works Department, aye.
Councilman McFarland.
Aye.
Councilman Morris.
Aye.
Councilman Otterkirk.
Aye.
Mayor Durrani.
Aye.
Motion carried. Council Memo 473-14, an ordinance granting a pipeline crossing easement to JBBR Pipeline LLC. It is recommended said ordinance be adopted.
So moved.
Second?
Questions?
One
Krista.
question.
And motion and seconded to approve. Councilman,
Oh, I'm sorry. If there's no questions, you want to speak on it?
I know, we were able to resolve any matters, myself and Mr. Plyman, with
Okay.
Mr. Hugg's question last
Oh, so we're good to go.
Oh, that's good. Well, that takes care of my question.
Yes.
What was the answer?
It's included in the agreement.
Answered.
That's the answer.
Okay.
Krista?
Councilman Turk.
Aye.
Councilwoman Gavin.
Aye.
Councilman Girl.
Aye.
Councilman Hug.
Aye.
Councilman McFarland.
Aye.
Councilman Morris.
Aye.
Councilman Otterkirk.
Aye.
Councilwoman Coleman.
Aye.
Mayor Durrani.
Aye.
Motion carried.
Sure.
Council Memo 474-14, an ordinance increasing the fine for handicap parking violations. It is recommended said ordinance be adopted.
Move to approve.
Second?
Questions?
It's been motion and seconded to approve. Councilwoman Gavin.
Aye.
Councilman Girl.
Aye.
Councilman Hug.
Aye.
Councilman McFarland.
Aye.
Councilman Morris.
Aye.
Councilman Otterkirk.
Aye.
Councilwoman Coleman.
I just want to make a comment before I vote. I hope that the people that park in Joliet that see these $500 fines will take it to heart, because we mean business here. We wanted to give this parking fine some teeth, and we're going to give it some teeth, and they will be implemented, and you will be charged for it. Just be thankful that for those of you that violate these parking spaces, be thankful that you have two legs that you can walk, or you're not paralyzed, you don't need a wheelchair, or you don't have severe arthritis or some terrible heart condition. Be glad that you can walk all that way to the door. It's not that big a deal. And save these places for people that really need them. And with that being said, we will charge you the $500, and it will come out of your pocket, not grandma's or grandpa's. And therefore, I vote aye.
Well
Councilman-
said, Councilman.
Councilman Turk,
Aye.
Mayor Girani.
Aye.
Motion carried. Under Resolutions, Council Memo 476-14, a supplemental resolution appropriating funds for the 2014 pavement marking program. It's recommended said resolution be adopted.
So moved.
Second.
Questions? Krista?
Motion and seconded to approve. Councilman Girl.
Aye.
Councilman Hug.
Aye.
Councilman McFarland.
Aye.
Councilman Morris.
Aye.
Councilman Otterkirk.
Aye.
Councilwoman Coleman.
Aye.
Councilman Turk.
Aye.
Councilwoman Gavin.
Aye.
Mayor Girani.
Aye.
Motion carried. Council Memo 477-14, a resolution approving an interagency agreement between the City of Joliet and the Joliet Job Corps Center. It is recommended said resolution be adopted.
So moved.
Second?
Questions?
It's been
I have one.
motion,
This is the same agreement we've had over, yeah. Thank you. Krista?
been motion and seconded to approve. Councilman Hug.
Aye.
Councilman McFarland.
Aye.
Councilman Morris.
Aye.
Councilman Otterkirk.
Aye.
Councilwoman Coleman.
Aye.
Councilman Turk.
Aye.
Councilwoman Gavin.
Aye.
Councilman Girl.
Aye.
Mayor Girani.
Aye.
Motion carried. Council Memo 478-14 was pulled from the agenda. Under bids and contracts, award of contracts, Council Memo 480-14, award a contract for the Ottawa Street Parking Deck Lighting Upgrades Project. Council Memo 481-14, award a contract for the Scott Street Parking Deck Lighting Upgrades Project. Council Memo 482-14, award a contract to ComEd for utility relocation work for the West Park Front Pumping Station Replacement Project. Council Memo 483-14, approve a professional services agreement for sewer video asset management. Council Memo 484-14, purchase 2 backhoe loaders for the Public Utilities Department. Council Memo 485-14 was removed. Council Memo 486-14, award a contract for the Joliet Union Station Roof Rehabilitation Project 2014. It's recommended Council Memos 480 through 484-14 and 486-14 be approved.
Are there any questions? Krista?
Was there a second? Okay. It's been motioned and seconded to approve. Councilman McFarland.
Aye.
Councilman Morris.
Aye.
Councilman Otterkirk.
Aye.
Councilwoman Coleman.
Aye.
Councilman Turk.
Aye.
Councilwoman Gavin.
Aye.
Councilman Girl.
Aye.
Councilman Hug.
Aye.
Mayor Girani.
Aye.
Motion carried. Amendments, change orders, and payments. Council Memo 488-14, approved change order number 1 and payment number 2 and final for the 2014 pavement marking program. Council Memo 489-14, approve amendment number 1 to the professional services contract for the Laraway Road Roadway Improvements Project 2013. Council Memo 490-14, approve change order number 3 and payout number 6 and final for the New Street Osgood Street Utility Relocations Project. Council Memo 491-14, approved change order number 5 and payment request number 7 and final for the Desplaines Street Storm Sewer Improvement Project 2013. Council Memo 492-14, approve amendment number 2 to the professional service agreement for the 2013 Utilities East Side GIS Mapping Project. Council Memo 493-14, approve amendment number 3 to the professional services agreement for the 2013 GIS Mapping Project. Council Memo 494-14, approve change order number 1 for the 2014 EAB tree replacement contract. Council Memo 495-14, approved change order number 2 and payment estimate number 5 for the Eastern Avenue, Osgood Street, 2nd Avenue, Sherman Street Water Main Improvement Project 2013. It's recommended Council Memos 488-14 through 495-14 be approved.
So moved.
Second.
Questions?
Motion and seconded to approve. Councilman Morris.
Aye.
Councilman Otterkirk.
Aye.
Councilwoman Coleman.
Aye.
Councilman Turk.
Aye.
Councilwoman Gavin.
Aye.
Councilman Girl.
Aye.
Councilman Hug.
Aye.
Councilman McFarland.
Aye.
Mayor Girani.
Aye.
Motion carried. Next, under Mayor Girani appointments.
I do not have any this evening.
City Manager.
Yes, I have one thing. After we issued our press release on trick-or-treating hours between 3:30 and 6 p.m., it was noted that a number of our adjacent communities use 4 p.m. to 7 p.m. And I think one of the things we've forgotten is that a few years back they changed daylight savings time, and we used to roll back right before Halloween. Now we've got an extra week, and it isn't until November 2nd. So unless there's an objection, we'll reissue that press release saying 4 to 7 p.m. like our adjacent communities.
Mayor?
Okay. Yeah. Does that take action? Or can
No, there's no action.
All right, yes.
Jim, thank you for looking into it myself. I talked to a couple of council members, including Councilman Gavin, and whether you realize it or not, that addresses some of the problems that we had heard about with kids getting off the bus at 4 o'clock and starting at 3:30, parents not getting home from work till 5:30. So you've really done a good thing here, even though it seems like a small thing. And a lot of parents are going to be very happy, and maybe they'll even erect a statue to you.
Trick or treat.
That's all I have.
I think it's a great idea.
Next is new business, not for final action or recommendation.
Thank you. Mr. Plyman, as you may or may not have heard, this last week we had a child fall from a 4-story building over at Evergreen Terrace. And it was a tragic accident. From the reports that I understand, was a child pushed the screen out the window and fell. And I was just curious, is there anything on the ordinance books for any of our apartment complexes, whether it's city-owned or I know we have a couple of high-rises in the vicinity, of any type of safety measures for the windows, if they're on the books, if not, if it's something we can look into. Unfortunately, accidents like this happen, and I think if we could use some type of precautionary measures in our inspections, want to respond.
You know, Councilman, that unfortunately is not the first time we've had that problem at Evergreen Terrace, and I don't recall hearing about it in other high-rises, but our current ordinances require that screens be tight-fitting and in good repair. And if a screen is tight-fitting and in good repair, a child can't open it and fall out. However, it's happened a few times, and perhaps there are technologies or different approaches that we could use in high-rises, residential high-rises, I should say, especially those that are occupied by families with children. So I think it's a great idea that we look into it and see if other communities have tackled the problem before.
So since the city does not have ownership yet of Evergreen, is it something that we could do in the inspection division, Mr. Hock, to inspect the windows and cite the current ownership for the violations there?
I know that we're required to do an annual inspection of all of the facilities. We certainly will check that report and find out how long ago it was. And I do think we have the right of entry to look at that kind of thing.
Thank you.
Anybody else? No.
Next is mayor and council comments.
Comments?
Your Honor, I'd just like to congratulate the Joliet Area Historical Museum for a very successful gala they had Saturday night. They honored Earl D'Amico, who was one of the owners years ago of the Renaissance Center, and brought a lot of entertainment in, first-class entertainment, and it was a great evening. I know you were there, Mayor, and Councilwoman Quillman was there, and it was a great night.
I just like to say a couple weekends ago, I attended the Illinois Municipal League Conference, and our city manager, Rock, was there, and we went to different roundtables. And we haven't gotten together yet, but we'd like to get together and compare our notes because we went to different seminars, and we learned some things that we can improve here in our city council. And we're not quite sure if we're going to bring it a meeting or a committee yet, but we're going to compare our notes. But there's some things that we can really improve on. And the conference itself was really wonderful this time. And having said that, I wish everybody a safe evening.
Thank you. A couple things. Jim Hock, I was, last week, I went down to the train tracks where, with the new building that's going on, and specifically the Amtrak tracks, I believe also the Metro tracks. From what I can observe, there's no longer any staging area or any inside area where people can stand waiting for the trains. Is that accurate? If you know, you may not be aware.
For the Amtrak Heritage
The Amtrak right across from the ballpark?
There is a platform up there. There is an extremely small shelter because we're limited in terms of space. I have been in touch with the owners of the Slammers to talk to them about using the will call area right in the lobby of the entrance there this winter as the weather turns, because the trailer doesn't open until after the 6 a.m. train, and so there won't be any heat up there on the platform, and we're looking to provide that for resident commuters.
I think that's where I was going with it, but thank
Sure.
you. That would solve the problem. I didn't go on the Metro tracks, is it the same situation there, or is there some shelter that people can stand in?
There is plenty of shelter, and there's infrared heat, and it's operated by a button. Every 15 minutes you push it and it'll come back on.
Okay, thank you. The second thing is something that I'm promoting here with the assistance of Councilwoman Gavin. About 4 months ago, I was approached by our Joliet Police Union, who had been approached by the VFW Hall in Cotigny Post. The VFW Hall was looking for some funds to help fix the outer facade of their building, specifically the stairs and the ramp and the pillars. And they placed it, this could be several $1,000s, about $5,000 or $6,000. FOP asked me if I had any ideas, and I did. So I reached out to a friend of mine, Mike Joyce, who owns the Celtic Boxing Club on the south side of Chicago. I spoke with him. I have spoken with several community leaders, most notably Mr. Terry Darcy, who have pledged to contribute money to this fundraiser, but they also asked if I could include the Forest Park Community Center in this fundraiser, which was easy for me to do. Most of my time as a policeman, I worked in Forest Park with Miss Louise Ray, and me and Officer Cardwell helped gut the building one Saturday morning. But so the idea is this: it's going to be on Saturday, October 18th. It's going to be at St. Joe's Park. There will be 8 amateur boxing matches between 8 fighters from the city of Chicago coming out to Joliet to fight 8 of our local amateur fighters. I've been working with Roy Smith, who's on your board, a former pro fighter, who has been coordinating with the different gyms. It should be a great night. It should be a fun night. All supporting these young athletes who are going to be getting in the ring in front of a room full of people, but also supporting the VFW Hall and the Forest Park Center, who both are in need of some help. Tickets are $10. You could buy them in advance or buy them at the door. The doors will open at St. Joe's Park, will open at 6. The fight should start sometime between 7 or 7:30, and there's going to be 8 amateur bouts. So I would encourage anyone who's available that night, if you want to come out and show your support, please do. And also, someone will remind me, it is the night of the Notre Dame-Florida State game. So I don't want to cut into that. We're going to have TVs also, so you can watch boxing and good college football. But thank you. Anyone who would wishes to support it, I would appreciate it. Thank you.
I have 2 things. Piggyback on Councilman Odekirk's comments with the Amtrak Heritage Metro line over there. If the Slammers are unable to open that causeway, the waiting area, is there a plan B?
Well, we'll take a look at other facilities, and I'll discuss, with the Slammers owners if they have any ideas using our the stadium's the closest building right there, and we want the residents to be able to see the train come in there. So I don't think they'll have any opposition to that.
If there's some type of issue, I'd like for us to have a plan B, whether it's maybe renting a tent for the winter season, just to get out of the. It's very brisk and windy up there.
Sure.
I know another comment. I think we got an email. The rest of the council. I know Councilman Gurley mentioned is some lighting under the viaduct under Jefferson Street. So maybe in the next council meeting or at public service, we can have an update on kind of what improvements are taking place there. I've had an influx of comments from commuters, including my wife, who commutes every day, that there's attention that needs to be done Maybe it was in some poor planning with the way that structure is up there being so small and not taking into account the amount of individuals that actually commute out of Joliet and travel. So any update on that would be greatly appreciated. Another comment I have is that I'd like to remind the Joliet residents that this next week there will be no change in your waste management garbage recycling pickup with the holiday on Monday. And I would also like to wish everybody a happy Columbus Day.
I'm just going to follow up real briefly. Councilman Oderkirk is putting together this event. Just to put a name to it, it is Beatdown in J-Town. I believe it's jtownbeatdown.com. Am I correct?
I believe so.
Okay, I believe so, and we'll double check that. These are two wonderful causes to support, and anybody who's a sports fan, and particularly a pugilistic fan, I'm getting the confirmation right now on the website. The website is www.jtownbeatdown.com. So it should be a good event, and it is billed as J-Town versus Chi-Town. So good work, Councilman.
No comments.
I would also echo and tag along with Councilman Oderkirk. I think that, and we certainly appreciate the Forest Park community and the center appreciates yourself and Terry Darcy for supporting us. And I am excited about the beat down in J-Town. J-Town will win. I just want to let you know that. And I'm so glad you mentioned that the TV will be there with the Florida State game. Thank you very much. You know, you took care of all of that. So thank you for that. My second part is I would like to pre-thank the Joliet Regional Airport and the Young Eagles program. This coming Saturday, I will have the opportunity to take 20 young people from the Forest Park area back to the regional airport for the aviation program. Last year, I took 10 young men who got an opportunity to fly and learn about aviation and even sort of circled the city. So those pilots that own the airplanes at the Joliet Regional Airport, thank you so much for what you do. You don't know how you have broadened the horizons of some of the residents that I've taken out. So we're looking forward Saturday morning to have another great time. This time I'm taking 20. So look out from above.
Just a couple things. Jim mentioned Plan B. Is there too much red tape that if the slammers don't go along with it, that we could maybe hire somebody to open up that trailer? Or is that too much red tape with Metro?
We'll look for alternative solutions and explore. It's obviously better to get building space than a tent because there is a breeze and they'll blow around, and they're hard to heat. And the trailer, I think, opens up at 7:30, so it's really between 5:30 and 7:30 that we need that space.
And lastly, the American Italian Cultural Society is having their Columbus Day banquet this Friday. And they got some great entertainment lined up, and I'm sure they have some tickets available. That's all.
Is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
Motion seconded to adjourn. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Meeting adjourned.